Hey, y'all remember when Blackstreet was like, you've got your problems, baby, and I've got mine. Let's just spend it all by putting it together, yeah. When you say you love me, it don't mean nothing. If you care, you be there like you used to be, yeah. I'm searching for the words to make you real. Okay, I was getting too into it. All right, stay focused, stay focused. What's good, YouTube? Y'all already know who it is. It is Queen, and if you are new, welcome to my channel. If not, welcome back to the Queendom. I am very, very excited to get back into the trauma series, y'all. I have already posted 6 parts of the trauma series, and the trauma series was my way of helping others get through their trauma, whether that be, drugs, alcohol, whatever they have gone through in their past, and they're trying to overcome it, or they're trying to move on from it and heal. I have given you guys the steps of how I healed from my past, as far as my anxiety. And I told my story already in the very first video, which was the kickoff. I can't sit up here and tell y'all to dig and go back to your past and the things that gave you trauma if I haven't done it myself. So specifically dealing with my my family and some things I've gone through in the past, that is where this video stemmed from. It stemmed from me healing from that and learning and growing, getting to know Mallory, apart from my parents, apart from my community, apart from the church, just in general, just healing overall. And I am not, disclaimer, I always put this disclaimer on my videos because I am not a therapist, I'm not a psychiatrist, I'm not licensed to give you guys this advice. This is just me telling you guys my story, what I went through, and how I overcame it, how I'm still overcoming it, because it is a daily, healing process. But these are just the steps that I took. You don't have to use these steps. You can use these steps if you want to. I've had people already, DM me and say, hey, I don't know if you know this, but that series was really helping me. Can you post the next video? I need to know the next step. Some people are really being affected by it in a major way. So feel free to go back and watch the other videos. As a matter of fact, if you don't watch the other videos, this video is not, it'll help you, but it won't make sense because you haven't gone back and watched the other videos prior to this one. And those 6 parts are crucial to you moving on to this step that I'm about to share with you right now. So parts 1 through 6 was part 1 of my trauma series, and this is part 2. I knew that there was going to be a time where I was going to have to come back on here and finish out this trauma series, no matter if it helps 1 person, 2 people, 3 people, 50,000 people. I really don't care about the numbers. As long as 1 person's life is changed, as long as 1 person is being helped, that's all I ever care about. Somebody's going to see this video 20 years from now, 30 years from now, 50 years from now. Like, this video is gonna live on and on. It's gonna help someone even in the future when I'm not here. So I just want to leave my legacy, and this is one of the ways that I want to do that. So again, it's just how I did it. You don't have to do it this way. This is just how I did it. So in part 1 of the trauma series, that was basically, the first video was the kickoff. It was me explaining to you guys what the trauma series was, the purpose behind it, and then I shared my story. I shared how I overcame some things in my life, and I hope that will give you guys the motivation to go back to the things that you tried to avoid or forget about, or take the time to actually just reflect back on your life and ask yourself, are some of those things a reflection of your actions today in a negative way? And just do the work. I did the work. I'm doing the work still today. This is not something that took a day or a couple of hours. This happened, it took me a while to get to the point where I am now. The second video was me basically helping you guys. So I always tell you guys to grab a pen, grab paper, but again, go back and watch those other videos so you can be able to come to this one and be caught up. But in the first video, I was talking about acknowledging it. You cannot deal with your trauma. I think about trauma, and I've coached you guys on how to kind of think about your trauma. I think about it in the form of a person. You can't exactly confront someone if you don't even acknowledge that they did something wrong to you. If you're not allowing that person to take that responsibility, and acknowledge the fact that, hey, you did something to me and that hurt me. I don't see how you can heal your trauma and fight it and deal with it positively if you don't even acknowledge that it exists. If you don't acknowledge that you have trauma, you can't heal from it. So that was the first video. The second video was calling it out. So now that you see the trauma, you acknowledge that it's there and it exists in your life. Now it's time to call it out. It's time to say, hey, like, I know you're here. Like, what's up? And calling it out gives it a name. You can also give it a name. My trauma was called anxiety. My anxiety was very tough for me growing up as a kid. I wasn't old enough to give it a name when I was a kid, and you may not have been old enough to give your trauma a name. You may still not be able to give your trauma a name today, but calling it out is putting it in its place and basically saying, hey, you, yes, I see you. I know what you are. I know who you are, and I know you're only here to steal, kill, and destroy. So that's step 2, calling it out. Step 3 is confronting it. So once you acknowledge that it's there, it exists, you're gonna call it out, which is giving it a name: anxiety, depression. If it's an actual person that did something wrong to you, call it out. Call it out. Don't necessarily call. I ain't saying call them. Don't pick up your phone just yet. We ain't baby steps. We'll get there. But call it out, which means you give that thing a name. You attach it to a person or a thing or an event or a time. You give it a date, you can give it a moment, whatever. So when you confront it, you're basically telling it your feelings. So you're basically, getting it off your chest, how that thing made you feel, how that event, made you feel, and the trauma that has caused you in the past. So this is basically dissecting it and getting down to the nitty gritty. This is you basically breaking it down and saying, hey, you did this to me, I don't like it. You were the reason why, this happened and that happened, and I wasn't able to do this growing up, and my parents and whatever. You're just having a conversation with it at that point, and you're writing. You can either do it by writing things out, whatever you want to do. Step 4 is taking your power back. So when you take your power back, at this point, you have stripped your trauma of all the power that it's had over you up until this point. Now it's time to take your power back. Now it's time to confront that trauma and let that trauma know that it is no longer welcome here, and that God is in control, basically. And step 5 is the 5 W's. So who, what, when, where, why. Who caused it, or who is currently causing your trauma, because trauma it doesn't have to be in your past. You can be going through something traumatic right now and you don't know how to get out, or something traumatic can happen to you in the future. So who is causing or who caused your trauma? What is causing or what caused your trauma? When are you triggered? So when are you in an environment, or when are you around a certain person and you just don't feel like yourself? You feel out of place. You get anxiety. You get depressed. Like, when are you triggered? When is that trauma? Do you feel that trauma starting to come back up in your life? 4, where did it start? So going back to the root. You can't dig up a weed until you get to the root. What is the root cause of your trauma? At what time when you were young, or what time, maybe it was a couple months ago, a couple years ago. Go back to that time and actually sit in that time. Remember it. Go back to it. Think about how you felt in that moment, and, allow yourself to feel. Allow yourself to feel that moment. When you sit and actually allow yourself to feel that moment will no longer have power over you, because you're not scared of it. You're not intimidated by it. And the last W is why. So why is it still causing you pain today? Why are you still holding on to it? And, why does it still bother you? And then step 6 was forgiving yourself. So this is the last step in part 1, which is forgiving yourself. And I feel like there's a reason why I took this, break from the trauma series, because forgiving yourself is a long journey, y'all. There's things that I've done in my past and that I've gone through in my past that I still need to forgive myself for. 1, for sometimes allowing that thing to take power over me and like that. And 2, for just allowing it to fester and manifest itself in my life this long. I do think that it has had its, pros and cons in my life, but overall it was time for it to go. So step 6 is forgiving yourself, regardless of whether you caused that pain on yourself or not. You need to forgive yourself for allowing it to fester this long, allowing it to stick around this long and holding you back from, living life to the fullest and becoming your best self. Because when you have trauma in your past, from your past, and you refuse to heal from it, you refuse to even acknowledge that it exists, then you hold yourself back from your future in one way or another. You may think your life is perfect, you may think you have it all figured out, but we have all gone through something that either we are scared to confront, we're scared to heal from, we're scared to even relive that moment, but it's time for you to do it. And I'm here with you, okay? So part 1 had everything to do with you. In order for your healing journey to have, any type of positive effects or to be worth anything, is for you to be able to deal with you. You can't deal with your trauma if you can't even look yourself in the mirror. How do you expect to look your trauma in the face? Part 1 prepares you for part 2. Part 2 has to do with everything outside of you. So now that you've gone through those 6 steps, again, if you haven't already, pause this video, go watch the other 6 parts, and then come back to this video. So now that you've gone through those 6 parts, you've laid everything out on the table, now it's time to put it in its proper place. In part 2, I'm going to be walking you guys through and showing you guys how I handled the things outside of myself when it came to my healing journey. So for those of you who don't know, everything that's outside of yourself, you can't control. The only thing that you can control is you. So that's why I started it off with part 1, which had everything to do with you. No pointing fingers in part 1. It's everything to do with you. So sitting with yourself, acknowledging, forgiving, all of that had to do with you. Now we're going to talk about the things that are outside of your control, that you still have power over because you can control how you react. Part 1 was getting you mentally, emotionally, and spiritually ready for part 2. Y'all ready? You sure you're ready? Where your paper at? Where your pen? Get it out, bro. Stop playing. Go get your pen, go get your paper. I'm serious. I'm so serious. I'll wait. You ready? All right, let's get it. So in this video, I'm going to be going over with you guys the first step, and that is fighting it. Y'all, it is time to fight. A lot of people fight their trauma, and they fight things that they go through in their life in a lot of different ways. I have seen it. I have been exposed to it. I have had, people lash out on me because of things they're going through in their life. So step 1 is fight it. You are ready to fight your trauma. You are ready to fight it in a positive way and not just lash out at it and not just go at it in a negative way. So in this video, I'm going to be talking about both the negative and the positive ways to deal with your trauma. First, I'm going to point out the negative ways, all the ways that people possibly deal with their trauma. So make sure you write these down because you may not know it. You may think that a little drinking or a little smoking is just innocent, but sometimes it can trace back to your trauma. So here are the ways that people fight their trauma in a negative way. And I wrote down a list. I made a list because I could not remember all of these things verbatim. But these are things that I notice other people do to hide behind their trauma, to kind of conceal their trauma instead of opening the jar and letting it all out. People choose to do these things that aren't the best thing for them. Partying. Some people party every weekend. Now, I'm not saying going out is wrong, because I need to be going out more than I actually am right now. By going out, I don't really mean clubbing, because I'm not even into that type of scene. But I mean partying every weekend. Especially if you're going to the club during the week. Maybe you just got it like that, but either way, I know that partying is some people's way of avoiding dealing with their trauma. Another sign is staying with your parents. Now, parents, if you watch this and you got kids, don't come for me. Don't come for me. And if you live with your parents, don't come for me, because I'm not saying in any form or fashion that staying with your parents is wrong. I'm not saying that at all. But what I am saying is a lot of people still stay with their parents, or they go back to staying with their parents because they go back to what's familiar. A lot of times when you move out of your parents' house, I know for me specifically, when I moved from North Carolina to here, I was forced to deal with a lot of stuff on my own. I was forced to see where the areas where I was weak, the areas where I was strong. I was able to see the things that I need to improve on because I didn't have any family, I didn't have any friends out here. So I was forced to spend a lot of time alone with myself. And when you spend a lot of time alone with yourself, you are forced to look in the mirror. Not just see yourself in the mirror, but look at yourself in the mirror. And that was a very scary thing. But staying with your parents is sometimes another sign that people are running from something, or they're hiding from something, because the minute you get from under your parents' wing, life is gonna life, for sure. Life will life you even when you stand with your parents. So just imagine having to deal with life on top of the responsibilities of being an adult. Yeah, that ain't nothing to play with at all. So there's nothing wrong with staying with your parents. I just know that sometimes people will still be 40, 50 something staying with their parents, and you use that as a crutch because you feel safe, you feel secure, it's comfortable, and it's familiar to you. Nobody wants to step out of their comfort zone. Nobody wants to get out here and really deal with life for real. So yeah, I'm only talking to the ones that are, if that is you, I'm talking to you. If that is not you, if you are staying with your parents because of financial hardship, or you're saving money, or your parents are sick and you're taking care of them, I am not talking to you. Do you, boo-boo. And I am praying for your strength in the Lord. But you know who I'm talking to. The other sign is being defensive or guarded. I have ran into a lot of people who are like this, both romantically and platonically, and in my family. I've dealt with a lot of people who don't like to be told when they're doing something wrong. I am humongously guilty of that. I actually get upset when people tell me about myself. I don't know what that is. I'm still working on that truth moment. But yeah, and I feel like that is more generational as far as like my life goes. I feel like that trickled down from the family tree. But sometimes when you're defensive and you're guarded, that is another sign that you are running from something, because you'd rather run from it. You'd rather be upset with that person that told you the truth. You'd rather lash out at people for telling you the truth and telling you how it is and telling you need to change and pointing out the flaws that you need to deal with and the things in your life that you need to face head on. You'd rather fight them than fight the trauma. You'd rather lash out at them than lash out at the trauma. You'd rather not talk to them for years, hold grudges, and whatever else you do towards that person or that thing, opposed to forgiving, moving towards forgiveness and actually talking to them, telling them how, that thing that hurt you made you feel, and things like that. So being defensive and guarded is another sign. Another sign is being short-tempered. Normally, people who are short-tempered are at their breaking point. And when I say they're at their breaking point, that means that they're past trauma, or they're going through something and they've let it fester and they chose to not deal with it for so long that they don't even know how to compose themselves. They don't even know how to control their emotions anymore, because all that they feel when they wake up in the morning, all that they see when they wake up in the morning is their trauma. It don't even matter if they see a person in Target and that person bumps into them. They will cuss that person out, all because they won't deal with their trauma at home, or they won't deal with their trauma from their past. You'd be surprised. Y'all may laugh, but that's a serious thing. People will lash out at strangers. A lot of road rage. Some people have road rage because they feel like, because they can't control the things in their life, they want to control people on the highway or control people on the road, when you don't have no control over nobody but you and your car. That's a real thing. A lot of people will lash out at complete strangers for no reason at all. That person didn't do anything to you, but you just found a reason to be upset with people. That's another sign that you need to deal with something that is way deeper than just somebody cutting in front of you in line, or bumping into you in the store, or cutting you off on the highway. It goes a lot deeper than that. Another sign is that you'd rather be alone all the time. A lot of people are reminded of their trauma when they're in certain environments or when they're around certain people. So that's another sign, is that you would rather be alone, where you can't be reminded of your trauma, than to actually go to that environment or go to that person and deal with it. A lot of people don't speak to certain family members for years because of that. A lot of people don't show up to family cookouts because of that. A lot of people don't go back to school, high school, college reunions because of that. So that's another sign as well, is that you rather detach yourself and lose out on those memories than to heal, forgive, and have those moments for life. So this sign kind of goes back to being short-tempered, and it's basically punishing the person. So I know that some people may punish someone for something that they did to them when they were like 5 or 7 or 15, however old they were. There's people I know that are like 40, 50 years old, probably 70, 80 years old, that still don't like a certain sibling, or still don't like their parents, or still don't like, have hate towards a friend or someone who has been in their life and who hurt them. I know some people who are still holding a grudge to this day. That is sad. And I honestly can say that we've all been there. I've been there, where I have subconsciously, and sometimes you can subconsciously do it. You can subconsciously hold grudges against people and, not even know it. But that's, again, you not confronting, taking the time to confront that trauma. You will lash out and punish people for things that they did to you in the past because you haven't taken the time to forgive them and even acknowledge the fact that they even hurt you. Some people are still mad at their parents to this day for things that they didn't do or things that they did to them when they were kids. It's a process. It's all a process. So punishing people can also be a sign that you need to deal with, some things from your past. Another sign is that you'd rather deprive yourself of living your best life than to actually deal with your trauma. Some people may, again, not go to a family function because, 10, 15 years ago, somebody embarrassed you, or, I don't know, you fought your brother or your sister, or something traumatic happened at the family cookout. So you ain't seen Aunt Debbie in 15, 20 years because of what happened to you when you were 6 or 5 and you never told anybody. That type of stuff will deprive you of living your best life. Or it could have been that you had a traumatic experience when you were drunk, or when you did a certain drug or something. I'm not saying do drugs, kids, adults. I'm not even saying kids don't do drugs. Adults don't do drugs at all. But I'm talking about drinking. Maybe you had an experience where you had a little too much to drink, and from that, a traumatic experience happened. A lot of people choose to never drink a day in their life, not have a glass of wine, glass of champagne. They choose to not drink anymore at all because of that traumatic experience. And because of that, I'm not saying you need to drink to have fun. Sometimes when you have traumatic experiences, whatever is attached to that traumatic experience, you completely cut off because you don't want any chance of going back to that moment. So you would rather get rid of everything that had to do with that moment. Hence, let's go back to the family function. Let's say that you fought, when you were at the family cookout, you fought a sibling or something. You would rather detach yourself from, that sibling, any family function, whether it be a vacation or a cookout. You would rather detach yourself from drinking again because you and that person you and your sibling had a favorite drink that y'all drunk that day. Like anything that is attached to that moment, you would rather cut it off completely and lose out on, just having fun and living life, all because of a moment that happened to you a long time ago. Even if it happened a few days ago, again, it's all a journey, it's all a process, but you need to take those steps to moving towards healing so that you don't, miss out on things that, you can be doing in life. A lot of people sometimes use sex as a way to ignore their problems, as a way to run away from their problems. A lot of people use education as a way to run away from their problems. I know people who have like 5 PhDs and you don't want to learn how to heal. Like those two don't even correlate. You over here on your 6th master's degree, and yet and still your mama or dad is alive and they've never been to any graduation at all? Bruh, come on, man. Come on. I'm just saying, don't shoot the messenger. I'm just saying, there's something wrong with that picture. You can agree with me, you cannot agree with me, but I feel like there's something wrong with that. If you are constantly going back to school and you passing these classes, you got all the degrees in the world, but you don't want to learn how to forgive your mom or forgive your dad or forgive your sibling or forgive that friend. Like, I understand that some people, can be cut off out of your life and they don't have to be there. But you got people in your life that God assigned to specifically you, that you would rather hold a grudge towards and rather be upset at, opposed to like making memories with that person or those people. Something wrong with that. So a lot of people can hide behind their education as well. And a lot of times you can lose yourself in marriage, kids, and just life. And sometimes another clear sign is that you can just simply lose yourself. You can lose yourself in your marriage. You can lose yourself in your kids. You can lose yourself in your job. A lot of people drown themselves in their marriage. They put their husband before themselves. They put their wife before themselves. They put their kids before themselves. They put their job and career before themselves. I'm not saying that those people shouldn't be a priority, but you need to be the priority first. Even if that person is a girlfriend or boyfriend, you need to be the priority first, because guess what? If you're not okay, nobody around you will be okay. I tell people that I love that all the time. You need to take care of you. If you're not okay, nobody around you will ever be okay. I don't care how much you try to fake it. I don't care how much you try to ignore your feelings, ignore your emotions, but eventually that is going to come. It is going to come back up. It is going to regurgitate itself. And you don't want it to explode in the wrong moment. So you need to deal with it. If you really love those people, if you really care about those people that you're, putting before yourself, you need to take the time to actually put yourself before them so that you can be the best version of yourself for that person. You can't be the best version of yourself if you're not willing to deal with that little girl or that little boy from your past, or that woman or that man from a year ago, 2 years ago. They deserve better. They deserve the best version of you. You deserve the best version of you. So sometimes people will lose themselves. They would choose to drown themselves in their marriage and in their kids and their job, and they would choose to make that, they would prefer to make that their identity and hide behind a title of husband, wife, mother, father, CEO, than to actually deal with the thing that hurt them in the past. So these are all of the signs of, negative ways to deal with trauma. But we're gonna wipe all this away. We're gonna take all this away. So now let's talk about some healthy ways to deal with your trauma. And these are all ways that you can combat the negative ways, the negative, habits that I just said. And again, just like healthy habits have to be built, negative habits have to be unlearned. Just like healthy habits have to be learned and it has to be a routine, you have to make a routine out of unlearning and undoing those unhealthy habits. So again, it's all a what? A process. But we're gonna get there. I got you. All right. So again, this is on the other side of my sheet. I hope you wrote down those unhealthy ways, or you may have you can honestly have the luxury of going back and just looking at these yourself. But those were the unhealthy ways. Here are the healthy ways. One healthy way: pray and meditate. Pray and meditate. Going to the gym. Now, going to the gym isn't a bad thing as long as you're not using it as a distraction. When you start to use the gym as a distraction opposed to a way of healing, then that's a problem. I know some people who look like their muscles got muscles and they look the best on the outside, and it's only because they know that they don't look or feel their best on the inside. Never, ever, ever use the gym to fight your battles with your trauma. You won't win. Just because you're strong physically, that doesn't mean you're strong mentally. That doesn't mean you're strong emotionally. You have to learn how to fight outside of the gym. There's nothing wrong with using the gym in the moment and for certain moments when you want to, do negative things. The gym is a good outlet, but don't use it as a distraction. Another way to combat, those negative habits is to have an alternative healthy snack or drink. When it comes to drinking, smoking, eating unhealthy, find healthier things to eat. Find healthier things to drink. Find alternative things to those unhealthy things. Like for me, opposed to eating candy, I like to drink boba. Now, boba is probably unhealthy too, but pick your poison. I would rather drink 1 cup of boba a week than sit up here and go to the gas station every night and get candy and load up on candy and snacks and junk food. That's just me. That's just my way of kind of diminishing my unhealthy habit of eating candy when I'm stressed, or eating unhealthy when I'm stressed. So I choose to dive into other things. And sometimes I drink juice opposed to eating candy. That's just my way of, combating that. So find alternative snacks and drinks when it comes to smoking, eating, or drinking. Now, when it comes to doing unhealthy things, a lot of things that people kind of underestimate is games. So I'm talking like puzzles, I'm talking checkers, chess, Sudoku, I'm talking crossword puzzles. Those 5 things, they really take your mind off of doing unhealthy things or thinking unhealthy thoughts. I know for me, when I'm having anxiety, I play Sudoku on my phone, simply because when I'm trying to figure out where to put the numbers and where they go, I don't have time to think about that traumatic experience or what made me upset just now or what just gave me anxiety. I'm focused on the game, and by the time I finish the game, I'm back good. So that is just a way to temporarily combat those moments where you have anxiety, depression, or whatever you're going through. So a lot of people underestimate games, but games really distract your mind in a positive way. And when you play Sudoku, like puzzles, Sudoku, crossword puzzles, those actually sharpen your brain. They keep your brain on point. So just a little nugget. You're welcome. Thank you later. When it comes to living with a parent, a lot of people can, instead of living with a parent, you can choose to live with a sibling or a good friend. Living with someone that's your age, that's also going through life at the same time, you're like at the same pace that you are. Maybe not doing the same thing, maybe not taking the same route, but you guys are the same age. Maybe you guys are in the same work field, or you're just old high school buddies and you trust that person enough to stay with them, and you guys have a good enough relationship to stay with each other. I think that it's really helpful to stay with a close friend or a cousin or someone other than your parents. When you're with your parents can, basically take care of you. When you're staying with somebody who's your age, who also has a job, and y'all have to share the bills and the responsibilities in the house, then yes, I think that helps you kind of learn to slowly matriculate into being an adult and having your own responsibilities, your own life, and things like that. So number 7, when it comes to being defensive and guarded, I'm gonna just tell you to go watch part 1 of this series. Part 1 of this series will help you with being defensive and being guarded. Also, when it comes to being short-tempered, go watch part 1. And instead of being alone all the time, sometimes when you want to be alone all the time, a lot of people want to be alone because they would prefer to be alone opposed to being with somebody who reminds them of their trauma or somebody who's always negative. An alternative to that is finding positive people to hang out with. Find some new friends, find a new friend circle, create a new friend circle, create people that are going to surround you, that are going to pray for you, that are going to help you through, those hard times of difficult nights, that are going to actually not be your yes man and actually call you out on your mess. People that are going to push you towards your purpose, push you towards the best version of you. Not people that are going to babysit you and pamper you and pat you on the back and have your back and yeah, he was wrong for that. Yeah, she was wrong for that. I don't need, me personally, I don't want and I don't need no yes man in my life, because you ain't helping me at the end of the day. You just boosting my ego and you just making things worse, to be honest. So my advice to that is, opposed to being alone, surround yourself with positive people. Also, those people will hold you accountable as well. That's another reason to surround yourself with positive people. When it comes to punishing someone, an alternative to that, healthy alternative to that, is forgiving them. And forgiving them is, once again, a process. It's not going to happen overnight, because you've been holding this grudge against them for 15, 20 years. So don't think that you're going to forgive them tomorrow. It's not going to happen. It doesn't work like that. I am still forgiving people who hurt me in the past. Still. Did I cut them all off? No. Some people are still in my life. One, because God granted them to me. He gave them to me as a gift. So I ain't saying they can't go nowhere, but I'm saying that I believe that God placed them in my life for a reason. So a healthy alternative to depriving yourself of something that should be a good thing, but it's been turned into a bad thing. You can take a break from it. You can kind of go on a fast if you need to, or you can go to a meeting, talk to a therapist. You can seek professional help, or you can, share those moments with people that you trust. I know for me, there's only certain people that I can drink around. There's people that will bring out the best and the worst in you. I know the people that I can drink around and it be a positive environment, and we all, are good. Nobody overdrinks. Nobody, wants to fight. Nobody wants to do the most. We're just having drinks, having a good time, enjoying each other's company. So when it comes to depriving yourself of something that should be a good thing, but it's been turned into a bad thing because of your past trauma, surround yourself with people that will help you turn it into a good thing, if that makes sense. So again, for me, when it came to drinking, I used to surround myself with people who brought out the worst in me when I would drink. So eventually like cleared them out of my life, and now I'm welcoming in people who drink healthily, who drink, you know, just to have a good time, and don't drink to suppress, and don't drink to run away from their problems. Because at the end of the day, you are a mirror. Your friends are a mirror of you. So I used to surround myself with people who were doing the same thing as me, who were running away from their problems and choosing to drink opposed to choosing to deal with it. But now I surround myself with people who drink to just simply have a good time, and it is incredible. So opposed to holding yourself back from a good time, actually surround yourself with people who can handle, you know, those types of things. When it comes to sex, put that energy into something else. So let's go back to the puzzles, the Sudoku, the chess, checkers. Like play a sport. Go out and play sports. Even if you're not in high school or elementary school or college, you're an adult. Find some people that you used to play ball with and go play ball. There's a lot of healthy outlets out there. You just have to go and find the one that works for you. When it comes to your education, be more intentional about your education. I'm not saying don't go get that 7th degree. I'm not saying that at all. If you want your degrees hung up all down your wall, by all means, baby, do it. But don't drown yourself in debt just to suppress your trauma. And also, whenever you decide to go back to school, ask yourself why you're deciding to go back to school. A lot of people go back to school because they don't feel like they're good at anything else. They don't feel like they're successful at anything else. They're bored with life, so they choose to go back to school because school was the last time that they felt relevant. School was the last time that they felt worth something, like they were worthy of something, or they could accomplish something easily. So when you want to get that degree or go back to school, ask yourself, why are you really doing it? And ask yourself, what degree are you planning to go back to school for? Me personally, I got a degree in business. I got a bachelor's of arts in business. What I'm gonna do with that, I don't know. A lot of people, if you ask them, they went to college, a lot of people got degrees and are doing not a freaking thing with it. Not a thing. So I say there's nothing wrong with getting an education. By all means, learning helps you grow. So go back to school if you want, but kind of make sure you're going back to school for the right reasons, and make sure that you're getting a degree in something that will not only help you in the future as far as, you know, getting a better job, but also help someone else. And when it comes to drowning yourself in your marriage, your kids, or your job, I say take the time out to find out who you are apart from those things. Who are you outside of your marriage? Who are you outside of even your relationship? Who are you outside of your kids? Who are you outside of your job? If you had to stay home for one day and not go to work, and your husband or your wife took your kids out of town and it was just you at home, would you lose your mind or would you have a good day? If your answer is the first response I just said, yeah, you have found a way to dig yourself into, you know, your family or your job in a negative way. So a healthy way to deal with that is to just simply find out who you are separate from those things. Also, learning how to balance those things as well is a healthy way. Don't feel like you always have to spend all of your time with your husband or wife, or all of your time with your kids. You need time for you. Take out time for you. You don't have to take the kids to the park every weekend. Sometimes let your husband or your wife do it. Let your baby mama or your baby daddy do it. If y'all are in a good relationship, have play dates. Send your kids to a friend's house that you trust and have a day to yourself. Go on vacations by yourself. I don't care if you're married, in a relationship, single, got kids, up the wazoo. Spend time with you. Spending time with you and growing a constant and consistent, healthy relationship with yourself will help all of your relationships and all of the other relationships in your life grow and flourish. Guaranteed. It's guaranteed. And last but not least, when it comes to drowning yourself in your marriage, your kids, or your job, take the time to figure out, not your kids, because once your kids are here, they're yours. Once you hear that first, they're yours, baby. So not your kids, but when it comes to people that you're in a relationship with, when it comes to people that you're married to, ask yourself, why are you and that person still aligned? And are you and that person still meant for each other when it comes to like you and your purpose? I know a lot of people marry people, get with people because their trauma aligns, and that's called trauma bonding. Some people get married to other people because I'm going through this, you going through this, we meant to be together. Just because you and a person bond over something negative, that don't mean y'all meant to be friends. That don't mean y'all meant to be married. Because as soon as the other person heals in that friendship or that relationship or that marriage, that person's eyes are going to open and they're going to see you exactly for who you are in that moment. And 9 times out of 10, that person's gonna run from you. They're gonna cut you off. They're gonna, because they chose to heal and you still over here doing the same thing y'all used to do back in high school or back in college, or you and that person that you're married to, y'all don't connect anymore because y'all got married at a time in your life where you were desperate for each other. You guys needed each other to get through a certain period. And now that you've healed and you've gotten through, those tough times, and you've rediscovered who you are, you can't even relate to that person anymore because you're no longer that person that you guys bonded over. That you're no longer that person that person fell in love with, if that makes sense. So pay attention to that as well. Also, when it comes to having a job, some people get certain jobs to run away from their problems. They get certain jobs to, suppress how they are really doing and how they're really feeling. Ask yourself if there's a reason why you're at that job. A lot of people will spend 15, 20 years at a job that they were never meant to be in, but because, it has benefits and they're good at it, then they just choose to stay. Find your purpose, find yourself, and heal, y'all. This is the first video of the trauma series part 2. I hope you guys enjoyed this. I hope you were taking notes. I hope if you weren't taking notes, you can go back to this video and write those down. Please, 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 I only have one request. Even if you don't hit that like button, even if you choose to not comment, share this with someone else. We are all hurting, y'all. I don't care how happy somebody looks. We are all struggling with something. Nobody here is in this life and not going through something. It's not possible. So check up on your friends, check up on your family, check up on those that you love and care about, whether they blood related or not. And let's heal together. Let's grow together. Let's choose positivity over negativity. Let's choose to find the best version of ourselves and to find our purpose and not just go through this life as if we don't have one. I love you guys so much. Again, thank you for watching this video all the way to the end. If you did watch this video all the way to the end, drop a white heart in the comments. And again, thank you so much if you have watched it to this point. That means you're really rocking with the kid for real. Again, if you are new to my channel, welcome to Queen's Dominion. We're so excited to have you here. Again, make sure you share this with somebody so that we can all get to a place of healing. Don't just keep this video for yourself. Step 2 will be posted next Friday, God willing. And if you haven't gone back and watched the other parts, please go back and watch parts 1 through 6 and come back to this video so that we can do it in chronological order. Everything is a certain way for a reason because those steps help you get to this step. So again, I love you guys so much. Step 2 to part 2 will be dropping soon, and y'all have a good weekend. Peace.